Ceann Comhairle, and on behalf of my colleague Minister O'Brien, I would like to thank all the deputies who have contributed to this debate this evening. I think we can all agree that many homeowners and residents of apartments and duplexes have found themselves in a very difficult and a very stressful position when defects arise in relation to their buildings through no fault of their own. As the Minister has stated on a number of occasions, this is a nettle that this government is determined to grasp, and we are committed to providing support to affected homeowners. Given the personal impact of these problems on the homeowners involved, Minister O'Brien would like to reach a broad political consensus on these vital issues. In this regard, he has written to the opposition leaders requesting their specific written input on options laid out in the report on the working group to examine defects in housing and any additional steps they believe should be undertaken to meet these challenges. The Minister would like to thank those who have responded to date and would encourage those who have yet to do so to submit their proposals for his consideration as soon as possible. The Minister would like to see some practical details included in these proposals and has requested that, in particular, relevant detail on administration, implementation and costings accompany the proposals. This government fully acknowledges the cause that homeowners and residents need support at the earliest possible opportunity, and I wish to assure the House that the government is committed to addressing this issue as a matter of priority. The government's commitment is demonstrated by the fact that one of Minister O'Brien's first actions when he became Minister was to establish the working group to examine the defects in housing. And I can, just in response to Owen O'Brien's comments, that the regulations for the Defective Concrete Blocks Grant Scheme will be published in January. This was a very important initial step, as it was the first time that we could establish the scale of the issue involved, and I would like to reiterate Minister O'Brien's thanks to all members of this working group for the considerable work they undertook in what was a relatively short space of time. The scale of the issue we are trying to address is quite substantial. It is worth reiterating that the number of apartments and duplexes constructed between 1991 and 2013 affected by one or more of fire safety, structural safety and water ingress defects is likely to range between 50 and 80%. This equates to between 62,500 and 100,000 apartments or duplexes built within this time period. Given that the average cost of undertaking the remediation of defects is likely to be approximately €25,000 per apartment or duplex, which translates into a potential overall total remediation of between approximately €1.56 billion to €2.5 billion. It is no small task to determine how best to put in place support for affected homeowners in a considered and structured way. To this end, as Minister O'Brien informed the Dáil earlier this afternoon, he has taken a number of steps to progress the implementation of the Working Group's report to ensure that the affected homeowners are provided with the support they need. This includes the establishment of an interdepartmental and agency group, the establishment of an advisory group to develop a code of practice, and considerable consultation with relevant stakeholders and homeowners representative groups. He is intending to bring a memorandum to Government next week, which will seek Government approval of the next stage in the process. As is evident from the detail that has been outlined to the House, a considerable amount of work is being undertaken, and this reflects the urgency that this Government believes is necessary to address the issue for affected homeowners. This is in the context of the finding of the Working Group that there is no single cause of defects. The Working Group determined that the defects tend to arise due to a variety of design, product inspection, supervision and workmanship issues, occurring either in isolation or in various combinations. However, as recognised by the Working Group in its report, given that the overall potential scale and estimated cost of fixing the problem is so considerable, it will take many years to address all buildings affected, and resources and works will therefore need to be prioritised. In this regard, it would not be appropriate for those in charge of affected buildings to delay the undertaking of any remediation work that is considered necessary from a life safety point of view. In this regard, it is worth remembering that persons having control of premises, including apartment and duplex buildings, have statutory fire safety responsibilities under the Fire Services Act. The person having control may be an individual person, a number of persons, or an organisation such as an owner's management company, approved housing body, real estate investment trust, a housing authority or property services company. In general, the person having control is required to guard against the outbreak of fire on the premises and to ensure, as far as reasonably practicable, the safety of persons on the premises in the event of an outbreak of fire. Given the scale of the apartments potentially affected, the Defects Working Group report advised on the importance of planning, prioritising and adequately resourcing any programme to address defects. In this light, Minister O'Brien is working to bring forward specific proposals to Cabinet, followed by new legislation, interim measures and administrative processes to respond to the report of the Working Group to examine defects in housing as quickly as possible. I will conclude by reiterating this Government's commitment to assist affected homeowners who need support to address defects that have manifested in their apartments and duplexes through no fault of their own. This has been a very useful debate, and Minister O'Brien looks forward to updating colleagues in the Dáil, again following approval of the memo to Government, which he plans to bring to Cabinet next week. Thank you, Ceann Comhairle.